In Homestead, Florida, stands one of this generation's megalithic structures, built by a single man named Edward Leedskalnin. First, in Florida City, he relocated the entire castle to Homestead, Florida, where he completed the work. Frequently compared to the pyramids at Giza, the heads of Easter Island, and Stonehenge, we look at Coral Castle. One giant question remains: how did he build this? The only first-hand accounts that we have of other people watching Ed work is only at night, where he has been said to sing to the stones that now make up what he called Rock Gate. Many of these single pieces of rock weigh over 1,000 tons, and the question remains: how did he do this? We explored this question, among many others, about the nature of our reality, hidden technology, mathematics, and the world energy grid. Follow along with me on this journey as we look into just how Ed Leedskalnin created Coral Castle. Hello everyone, welcome to the Yissel Missile Productions channel. My name is Steven Yissel, and today we are continuing our deep dive series into the Bermuda... I caught myself. Coral Castle. Bermuda Triangles tomorrow. It's the first time that's ever happened. Alright. So we are covering Coral Castle today. We are continuing our reading from this book, Anti-Gravity and the World Grid, by David Hatcher Childress. I hope you enjoy the new intro. Updated it with the audio and a lot more visual elements to it. So, we started this chapter last week, and it was something else. I can't even explain what the feeling was that I got from all this. Definitely a consciousness shift. So, I'm gonna set this up here. Just give me one moment. By the way, please, if you have not already, like the video and share this around to people that you think would be interested in watching this. Alright, we got our slideshow here. We ended on page 150 last week, and we're gonna go back a paragraph or two. So, just a brief run through here. Dome lines. I don't know what we're dealing with here. Honestly, I don't know what we're dealing with as far as the grid goes here. That's what we're here for, to figure that out. So we're going to try to get through 14 pages today. That should be a good break point too, because we're going to start talking about chakras. And how does this relate to Coral Castle, you may ask? This is recommended reading from the first book that we started the series off on. And after today, we'll be over on this page. So, let's get started. And again, if you have any questions about today's show, if you can leave comments below the video and not in the live chat, for the ones you want me answering after the fact, please do that, because sometimes YouTube doesn't replay these live chats. So if it's something you want other people to see, please leave the comment below the video, and that way it'll stick around no matter what processing this goes through for the live. Let's get started. So page 149, we're starting the last paragraph, which we ended with last week. But we'll just go over it again here. Technical difficulties. It's all good. Alright. I don't know why the cable for my video camera is in the way. Alright, we're all good now. Let's begin. Furthermore, according to dome theory, on a planetary basis, all the domes are linked by way of interwoven gold and silver lines which emanate like cords from their crowns. And these are joined together at one specific planetary node, which is the grid's umbilicus and master dome. The gold and silver cords represent the balanced energy inputs of positive/negative, or male/female, entering each dome. In popular mythology, this umbilical point is called King Arthur's Round Table of Camelot. The domes were brought to Earth to create a paradise for humankind. Each carried a light form or seed crystal of what was to be, both locally and globally, through the grid. Of these paradise crystals, some have been activated, but otherwise, humankind has either not been aware of this divine potential or not bothered to make use of them to create the intended Earth paradise. The option, however, still remains. Because of their heightened electromagnetic fields, the dome enclosures were like immaculate high-consciousness meditation halls where human awareness could be healed, uplifted, even interdimensionally transported through the domed exit points in the houses of the gods, facilitated by megalithic engineering. The Irish Brúna Boyne, or the house by the River Boyne, known today as the Newgrange Tumulus, was the home of the Tuatha De Danann, the Irish deities, and often visited by intrepid humans seeking an audience with their gods. So we did cover these different locations. It does seem like anytime there's like an energy or light touchdown to the earth, the people observing it seem to make shrines around them. Okay? The domed coordination points in some cases contain psychic maps to the local esoteric geography. Quote, these maps are used to provide points of resonance, release, and deflection. End quote. And includes details of the local layout of domes, dome caps, line nodes, and dome lines, and their energy/consciousness ratings. The domes facilitate meditatively acquired insight into the planetary thought matrix, in parentheses, what Teilhard de Chardin calls the, quote, noosphere, end quote, end parentheses, which is present like a hologramic library in the energy field of each dome. And noosphere is spelled Noosphere, so it's like nootropics. Breaking the blood-brain barrier. This is why the biblical Moses received the Pentateuch, or Torah, or on Mount Sinai, or the Torah, or, my bad. This is why the biblical Moses received the Pentateuch, or Torah, or on Mount Sinai, which was a preeminent sacred domed mountain. Furthermore, true to Hermes' principle of correspondence, and in a process of reciprocal inevitability, when the domes arrived, their terrific heat brought up a dome of water from underground, with its multi-directional web of water veins, both to cool the searing earth and to mirror the light dome above. Thus, even today, there are yang/centrifugal light lines and domes above ground, and yin/centripetal water lines and domes underground. Etheric above, physical below. This is behind the phenomenon constantly reported by dowsers of anomalous, copious water networks coincident with sacred enclosures. Ed Leedskalnin was a dowser. Thus, the domes, metaphysically speaking, distributed the vibrations of love and light from above through this imposed grid system, thereby spiritually irradiating the landscape and, by extension, human consciousness with these positive evolutionary energies. This is the key. Before Adam, the Elohim, that's it. Before Adam, the Elohim. The meaning of this gnomic statement will emerge as we move through the grid. However, the doorway for this key is expressed in a single number, i.e., the number of planetary domes, 1,746. In the mystical science of Kabbalah and its mathematical language of gematria, this is a number of profound significance, for it is the fusion of the primary solar, or 666, and the lunar, 1080, and the bipolar energies behind manifestation. In Kabbalah symbolism, 1,746 is the, quote, grain of mustard seed, end quote, which the Christ likened to the kingdom of heaven. It is also symbolically the divine man, the Spirit of God on earth, the mysteries of Jesus, the divinity of the Spirit, and others of similar import. The second key aspect of the electromagnetic 1,746 grid is chakras. According to esoteric Hindu yoga, in the human etheric body there are 7 major subtle energy centers called chakras, in parentheses Sanskrit for, quote, spinning wheels, end quote, end parentheses, ranged linearly along the vertical spinal axis from the scrotum to the crown of the head. There are anywhere from 7 to 22 minor chakras as well, distributed throughout the body. The major chakras are like electrical junction boxes, or energy transducers, for the physical body, mediating higher plane energies through the material form. The chakras are functionally affiliated with 7 principal endocrine glands, and thereby with the specific organ regions of the body, and with specific ascending consciousness states as well. For example, the throat chakra, called Visuddha, in parentheses meaning, quote, cleansed, clarified, perfectly pure, end quote, end parentheses, is related to the thyroid gland and the mastery of clairaudience, in parentheses, intangible hearing, as in the, quote, voices, end quote, of the gods. And so see diagram 3. So we'll take a look at that now, and that's the end of the parentheses as well. So we have here the human chakra system. This is a diagram. And this is showing from the scrotum to the top of the head. So I'll just let you look at the picture and then I will read these out too. So we have chakras. Number 7 is the crown. Number 6 is the brow. Number 5, the throat. Number 4 is the heart. Number 3 is the solar plexus. Number 2 is the sacral. Number 1 is the root. And it has its original names next to it as well. And then the channels. First channel is the white spiral, which is solar. The second is the dark spiral, lunar. And the third is the central line, which is neutral. And this is from The Inner Reaches of Outer Space by Joseph Campbell from 1986, and it's on page 65. I believe that's also the author of A Hero with a Thousand Faces, which we talked about as well. It might be a different person, but it might be the same. Alright, now let's continue reading here. The 7 chakras are energetically interdependent and activated sequentially, beginning with the 2nd, proceeding to the 7th, then returning to the 1st, the root, the seat of Kundalini, the fundamental creative cosmic evolutionary energy. Similarly, in this model, the Earth homologously has a chakra system arranged not in anatomical but energy sequence at 7 key dome centers. And in parentheses it says to refer to diagram 4, so we're also going to check this out here. Planetary chakras as mapped on the human. So we have the crown. And then this is also showing locations next to the names of these. So the parallel earth chakras are the names next to the locations. So number 7, the crown, Mount Cook, New Zealand. Number 6, the brow, Mobile Focus, Kunlun, Gobi Lop Nor, deserts in Mongolia. We got number 5, the throat, which is also the Great Pyramid, Giza, Egypt. Number 4, the heart. The inner is Avebury, and outer Glastonbury, England. Number 3 is the solar plexus. The earth location is Ayers Rock, Australia. Number 2 is the sacral, which is also Machu Picchu, Peru. And number 1, the root chakra, Mount Shasta, California. And you see all the tiny minor chakras as well. But all in uniform and parallel to each other. An earth chakra, such as the Great Pyramid of Giza, Egypt, or at Glastonbury Tor, England, is a huge energy vortex, several miles in immediate diameter, in parentheses, and extending much further in area of influence, end parentheses, like a two-way swinging grid door. It is a subtle electromagnetic interface between higher non-physical stellar energies and the material embodiment of them in the earth or human body. An earth chakra may be pictured like this. Picture tiny flowers all over the earth. Some form larger flowers, and some of these form even larger flowers. Chakras are energy in one form flowing into another, like flowers opening as parts of another flower, each independent yet interdependent, similar yet dissimilar. Alternately, we can visualize a mighty wheel with many spokes. At each spoke, there is a point of light. The wheel has a hub, and each spoke has two ends. Each spoke is connected to the hub and to the wheel. The center of the hub is connected to neither the spokes nor the wheel. It is the still center. The wheel turns into the head of a white opened dandelion. This is the Earth. The spokes leave from every direction from the hub, and the patterns of light emerge on the surface and extend beyond it. These points at the end of each spoke are the flowers, or nodes, or energy centers called chakras. Curiously, the geographical arrangement of the planetary chakra system is not immutable, although the changes occur very slowly and according to a predetermined plan, like a preset timer. The second chakra, for example, now at Machu Picchu, Peru, was formerly at Delphi, Greece, site of the famous oracle. Mount Kailas in Tibet was once Earth's fourth or heart chakra, but this has since been, quote, moved, end quote, to Glastonbury in England. The activation, operation, and cessation of planetary chakras, as well as dome centers, was originally calibrated for a definite time/evolutionary sequence based on a fundamental clairvoyant understanding of the vast reaches of planetary destiny. The sixth chakra, and in parentheses, the brow, or Aina, discussed below, end parentheses, changes focus every 200 years and is called the mobile focus. And that's two capitalized words there. It operates like a consciousness beam moving purposefully over the planet according to a prearranged schedule of activations. Presently, it is focused on Glastonbury, but at one time in its long, eventful history, it was a resident in Jerusalem. Although the domes have technically, paradoxically left, they are still resident as powerful energy imprints. As the mothers of all sacred earth enclosures. The electromagnetic 1746 grid, furthermore, is still operational, though at a somewhat reduced light intensity compared to what it would be like if the domes were materially present again. Gaia's etheric energy body remains sentiently active, just as her living physical form breathes through its biosphere. This level of the grid can be linked to a radio carrying the whole range of frequency transmission capabilities. The various parts of the radio band are assigned to the dome receptor matrix, which are like individual antenna or radio towers. This is a system of grid sonics, of tone modulations. The various dome centers are energized as sonic receptor sites according to a graduated dial of master transmissions. In many cases, stone devices, electromagnetically adjusted, were positioned at the dome antenna sites to facilitate sonic reception. Not only were the dome sites, according to this theory, calibrated planetarily in terms of radio beam receptivity, they were also calibrated in terms of a master electromagnetic spectrum geared to the consciousness and life support needs of humans and biosphere. Each dome was like a specially set tuning fork, When struck by the incoming beam, it then resonated this tone through its local web system as a uniform vibration. In recent years, many believe the grid has been undergoing a gradual, site-specific reactivation by the same agencies, the Elohim, that originally engineered and installed the system in accordance with Hermes principles. The Earth was made as a home in man's image. The electromagnetic 1746 grid anchors and differentiates the next dimensional grid matrix called the Ouroboros 15-line grid, which forms and maintains the biosphere and makes these higher energies available for human consciousness and technology interactions, and for mutually supportive human and Earth evolution. The Earth is enveloped in a lace doily of electromagnetic fields and pulsing points of light, which move the incoming intelligent cosmic/stellar energy streams through the matrix, always tending towards balance. The role of the geomancer, intelligently manipulating and cooperating with the electromagnetic 1746 grid, has been to harmonize these incoming streams against the chaotic entropic energy fields created by negative thought forms of resident humans, and maintain the health of both human and Gaia. The geomancer has always been the Earth Doctor and human metaphysician. So do you get that? I tell a lot of people to not think negatively, because all it does is charge you up in that space. Many don't understand this. You keep positive thoughts and you will radiate positive energy. You will attract what you put out there. People will still cuss at me and call me names and all of that. It doesn't matter anymore. People have made their beds. They're going to go out and do whatever they want to do. I've tried to instruct people. People think that just because I'm younger than them that I don't have some knowledge that will help them in their lives. So be it. We're here to learn together here. And if you're caught up on one thing or another, I'm sorry. Like, we're continuing on with this. We're going to probably go through 60 parts of this at the very minimum. There's a lot of content to cover here. But I try to tell people, don't think negative thoughts, and you won't attract negativity. You think positive thoughts, you'll attract positivity. Plain and simple. It's so simple. But no, people want to get caught in the matrix of the media and everything else, and they end up attracting the negative energies to them, and then all of a sudden they're worried about money and they're cussing people out, right? All of a sudden you still have no more money. You're expecting more money to come in, it doesn't come in. You're cussing F this, F that. Well, you're attracting that negativity. You're not going to get what you're asking for if all you're doing is putting the negative thoughts out there. Just because they're thoughts doesn't mean it's going to not manifest physically. But again, don't listen to me. You know, the haters out there, don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. Just move on. Just go to another channel, right? No, but I like everybody that's here, that's watching. You guys are all great. Just be respectful is all I ask. And with the positivity, you will attract back more positivity. Plain and simple. It says it right in this book here. We just got finished reading that portion. Sent me on a little rant. Positivity reinforces positivity. Plain and simple. Negativity reinforces negativity. It may be surprising that it's that simple, but it truly is. Think and you shall be. I'll reread that section. The role of the geomancer, intelligently manipulating and cooperating with the electromagnetic 1746 grid, has been to harmonize these incoming streams against the chaotic entropic energy fields created by negative thought forms of resident humans, and to maintain the health of both human and Gaia. The geomancer has always been the earth doctor and human metaphysician. Now we have a different portion of the book here, because this is like put into different sub-chapters. But we're still on track. We're going to get to page 165. We are on page 155. And we have a few diagrams to look at as well. So the Ouroboros 15-line grid. Ouroboros is spelled Oroboric. The ancient Chinese geomancers had a comprehensive understanding of the manifold harmonious relations with heaven, earth, and the human. They stated there was first the Wu Qi, so 2 words, WUCHI, the one primal vibration or cosmic sound, and in parentheses called OM in Sanskrit, or Om, the Logos in original Christianity, end parentheses. So the cosmic sound that differentiates into the Tai Chi, or 2 cones, and in parentheses yin/yang polarity, end parentheses, which then manifests as the 12 tones. The Lu, this word is spelled Lu. The 12 Lu are the 12 fundamental pitches within the octave, related to each other by specific ratios. In the West, this 12-fold differentiation of the octave is known as the zodiac. This is another topology of the basic cosmic modulations of celestial harmonics. Moreover, the Chinese stated that the vibratory modulations influence Earth in a regular oscillation according to hourly, semi-daily, daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, seasonal, yearly, and meta-annual cycles, all cataloged in astronomical/astrological tables. The geomantic year was apportioned into 12 nodes, 6 yin, 6 yang, each assigned to one of the 5 elements, and in parentheses, wood, fire, metal, water, soil, end parentheses. I bet most of you didn't think that wood, W-O-O-D, wood like trees, like that was that ever considered an element? We're usually told there's 4 elements. But here's 5. Wood, fire, metal, water, soil. There's no air here. There's no ether here. And these elements listed. Metal's listed for some reason. But that does kind of make sense. with the magnetics playing a key role here. Meanwhile, the acupuncturists had charted the 12 primary energy meridians in the human body, assigning to each a yin/yang polarity. In parentheses, e.g., absolute yin and lesser yang. End parentheses. So we're going to skip over a lot of these parentheses here so that it reads better. Let me reread that sentence without all of these. Maybe that'll help. Meanwhile, the acupuncturists had charted the 12 primary energy meridians in the human body, assigning to each a yin/yang polarity, an organ, an element, and a yearly daily time of heightened activity, propitious for treatment. So let's go back over these. We have the organ, or an organ, and that could be spleen, heart, liver, lungs. An element, which could be heart/fire, liver/wood, kidneys/water, and a yearly daily time of heightened activity, propitious for treatment, such as heart/summer/noon to 2 p.m. And they tied the system conceptually together with a set of 4 laws of Qi, which basically operate in alignment with Hermes' principle of rhythm, including mother-son, husband-wife, noon-midnight, and the 5 elements. These govern and describe the oscillating energy movements in both the human and earth meridian. And this is a reference diagram 5 here. So this is from the book titled Acupuncture by Michio Kushi, East-West Foundation, Boston, Massachusetts, 1973, and this is from page 11. We have the human Earth Ouroboros line. So you can see the black line going all the way down to the leg, and then it continues down here. You got 4 of the 5 elements right on the feet. Going up in the calf, you got, or right before the knee, in the upper calf, they got the water. In the West, the 12-fold permutations of the one energy were cataloged in terms of our familiar zodiacal attributions, such as Sagittarius, fire, earth for Taurus, and air for Gemini. Each, quote, ruled, end quote, by a planet, such as Venus rules Taurus, Mercury rules Gemini, and associated with particular body regions, such as Taurus with the throat, Gemini with the ears, arms, hands, chest, lungs, and Sagittarius with the hips and thighs. In mythology, this circuit of 12 has found expression in the image of King Arthur's Round Table of Grail Knights, each knight representing one station of this spinning zodiac house. The Chinese acupuncturists further discovered that in addition to the 12 organ-related meridians and their 2 affiliate channels, which are the heart governor /yin and the 3 heater/yang. There were two additional regulatory channels, namely the governing vessel, which is a yang/solar/front of the body/directing, and the conception vessel, or the yin/lunar/back of the body/responding. Meanwhile, the Indian yogis had described the three related subtle nadis, that's Nadis, or channels of Kundalini through the chakras. These are the Pingala Nadi, or the solar/right side, the Ida Nadi, or the lunar/left side, and Sushumna Nadi, which is a neutral/central fusion pathway. And it says to see diagram 3, but we already looked at that. That's just showing the basic chakra locations. The Pingala carries the fire of matter. The Ida channels the fire of Manas. And through the Sushumna courses the fire of spirit from the root to the crown chakra, according to the evolutionary sequence of chakra awakenings. For the purposes of this model, we will consider the Pingala Nadi and governing vessel meridian to be homologous to the Ida, Pingala, and conception vessel to be similarly related. This is all necessary conceptual foundation for appreciating the Ouroboros 15-line grid. This is Gaia's emotional body, her interactive sphere of formation for the biosphere, which is the matrix for all life on Earth. This grid makes differentiated sensation possible. In parentheses, expressed as emotions, ruled as described in astrology by the planets and stars, quote, in their courses, end parentheses, and is the bridge between mind and physical matter. The Ouroboros grid, with its balanced Tai Chi of alternatingly 6 yin and 6 yang lines, is the foundation for the magnetic polarities of the electromagnetic 1746 grid, and thereby for physical Earth. Magnetic energy, with its north/south poles operating in a charged biofield about matter, is concerned with establishing polarity, or the balancing of the energy flow between two defined points. Quote, without magnetics, there would be nothing to hold the universe together for it. Or there would be nothing to hold the universe together, for it contains the flow of vibrations back and forth within the theoretical limits of this universe. End quote. Thus, the Ouroboros grid is comprised of 15 Earth-traversing dragon lines. That's new. Thus, the Ouroboros grid is comprised of 15 Earth-traversing dragon lines, broad avenues of solar-differentiated light that, like the mythic Ouroboros serpent, link their tails with their mouths, making a complete energy circuit or great circle about the planet. These are not radiations from the domes or dome caps like dome lines, though they do intersect and interact with domes and dome caps. Nor do these Ouroboros lines oscillate, but they are rather consistent lines of energy surrounding the planet and containing the organic film of Earth life. They run somewhat above the Earth's surface, often parallel with the straight-running dome lines. 12 major Ouroboros lines encircle the globe, making 12 great circles. Each has a different solar energy, ordinarily denominated by the 12 zodiacal attributes, such as the Taurus Ouroboros line. There are 3 minor lines ordinarily denominated by the qualities of male, female, and neutral. Basically, the 12 Ouroboros lines correlate with the 12 Chinese Lu and 12 organ meridians, while the 3 minor Ouroboros lines correspond with the 3 nadis, in parentheses, and governing / conception vessels, end parentheses. The great circles each have different and varying levels of vibration or color, but they do not involve all the colors of the spectrum. Gold is a principal color, while lilac is found on occasion. The Ouroboros lines are primary energy tracks. After the birth of the biological being, such as Gaia, the primary energy lines determine the nature of its growth and environment, i.e., the biosphere. We can visualize a sphere with 15 golden, white, and lilac lines encircling it at geometric intervals, making a total of 62 points of intersection and 120 equal-sized triangles. Within each of these intersections is a positive and negative line running across the surface. These two are represented by pale blue lines, which form the recessed side of the 120 triangles. The forward lines of these triangles are golden or white, and the positive / negative lines are not fixed but oscillate in a rhythmic pattern. This overall Ouroboros feature incorporates the dodecahedron and icosahedron, 2 of the Platonic solids described below, forming the biosphere. In fact, the form for the Earth is a combination of all 5 Platonic solids, in parentheses, abstract forms of the 5 elements which form the next dimensional grid, end parentheses. This is the energy lattice covering the Earth. It is what produced Earth's environmental structure. A well-known example of an Ouroboros line is the St. Michael Dragon Lay in England. Dowsers trace its course for 380 miles, extending from southwest Cornwall at Michael's Mount at 62 degrees east of north, aligned with the May 1st or Beltane sunrise, one of the Celtic quarterly calendar days. To the northeast, Suffolk at Bury St. Edmunds. Along the way, it is dotted with numerous eponymous Christian church and earlier megalithic dedications. The St. Michael Ouroboros line, however, is much longer than 380 miles, nor is it the exclusive property of Michaelic Britain. It extends entirely around the planet, joining itself again after a circumferential journey of some 24,000 miles. Its width varies at different points, being at some areas as narrow as 4 feet, while at others measuring several hundred yards in width. There are actually many grid lines above the Earth, with the final one being 2 miles above the ground. Ouroboros meridians particularly vary in width and intensity at nodal points, and in parentheses, domes, dome caps, line nodes, and Ouroboros intersections, end parentheses, and may have thousands of major and minor treatment points arrayed along their length. There is a specific site on Earth where the Michael/solar and Ouroboros/lunar lines actually touch down, beginning and ending their planetary circuit and consequently activating the other 12 zodiacal Ouroboros lines. This is also the site of the Master Dome, the original round table of Camelot, the zodiacal court of the sun. This place is Avebury Circle in central Wiltshire, England. Avebury, according to this model, is the planetary umbilicus. Avebury is Earth's primary cosmic/electrical socket. It's where the Earth plugs into the cosmos. Avebury is grid central, the planetary geomantic switchboard. And we covered that with diagram number, or no, it says diagram, see diagram 6. So let's take a look at that. This is Avebury Circle as planetary grid umbilicus. This is from the Avebury Monuments from 1976. So that lower line, that second line on the bottom, that's representing 500 feet. And that's an overhead of that location there. Each of the Earth's 1,746 domes has 2 vertical light cords, one gold, one silver, rising out of its top like an insulated lampshade cord. All these dual-weaved cords are joined together into one master interwoven cable at the Avebury Master Dome. Moreover, Avebury is, to borrow another term from esoteric yoga, the planetary sutratma. The sutratma is a channel through which the direct stream of life from the spirit flows through the lower spiritual bodies and soul to the personality and physical body. It is anchored in the etheric heart chakra. The life stream controls the circulation of the human blood and the planetary chi. For the Earth, Avebury is the inner etheric heart called Ananda Kanda and operates in tandem with Glastonbury. The outer etheric heart called Anahata. Let's just see diagram 4. it's referring to this. The Sutratma at Avebury as the planetary tie-down for the basic solar/Pingala and lunar/Ida Ouroboros lines is also what is known in Ecclesiastes as, quote, the silver cord, the thread that binds all the selves in the human being with the divine, end quote. Hey God77, good to see you here in the chat. Yeah, we're talking about chakras today. Both human chakras and earth chakras, and how they're paired together. Thus, the primary Tai Chi, or energy consciousness polarity, enters the earth grid through her inner heart chakra at Avebury, where it is then distributed throughout the Ouroboros grid as Gaia's emotional lifeblood. Each grid line, vertical and horizontal, connects with the whole pattern covering the globe. Each of the two lines entering Avebury is connected at other points with each of the other 13 Ouroboros lines. The solar Ouroboros comes in as a burst of pure spirit, fiery, almost deadly, carrying absolute eternal consciousness. It is assigned the gematria 666 by Kabbalah. The lunar Ouroboros is cool, moist, refreshing, like a reviving drought, carrying incarnate consciousness, subject to temporal cycles of birth and death, time and space. It is assigned the gematria 1080 or 1080. The two energies are fused at Avebury, in parentheses, just as they are within the dual human heart chakra, and parentheses, their currents sent coursing through the grid. The number of their fusion is 1746, which is the sum of 1080 and 666. The dynamics of their interactive fusion as a ratio of 666/1080 is the phi or PHI phi spiral of unfolding light, namely 1.618034. This is a fact fundamental to the nature of light, described below, and at the heart of the grid and the human. While the solar and lunar lines are tied down at the planetary inner heart at Avebury, the neutral Ouroboros line, in parentheses, equivalent to the Sushumna Nadi, carrying the fire of spirit, end parentheses, is anchored at the Earth's crown chakra, Mount Cook in western New Zealand, through which the dual Avebury originating lines pass in their great circles. What is at play here is that the primary yin/yang polarity of the Ouroboros 15-line grid produces the balanced phi-described fusion of the 1746 electromagnetic grid, which is to say, light finding balanced manifestation in the earth body. As Doris Lessing writes, quote, the outer web of musical light created the inner earthly one and held it there in its dance of tension, end quote. It is, quote, a connecting, feeding mesh, in parentheses, like an electric grid of humanity, end parentheses, end quote. The Ouroboros 15-line grid is Gaia's emotional body, her personality expressed 12-fold as the zodiacal archetypes of the 12 Lu, and thus ours too as human residents upon Gaia. This dimension of the grid is our home on Earth, such that, as Lessing says, quote, in the great singing dance, everything linked and moved together. My mind was the facet of a mind, like cells in a honeycomb. End quote. Each of the Ouroboros lines was originally at some point anchored down to Earth by agency of special physical vibrating stones, which came with the domes. They were apparently material stones, as we know stones, about the size of a spherical suitcase. They were brought here by plan of the cosmic chaplains and Elohim geomancers, appearing here in the domes. The stones were activated by the domes, then positioned at key sites around the Earth to form what is called a global hermetic megalithic calendar for the benefit of all living forms. Each vibrating stone had its time of significance in accordance with all the synchronously overlapping zodiac schedules of activity, from the 12-hour cycle to the great year of 25,920 years. All 12 stones resonated in harmony and in resonance with each other. One such vibrating stone was placed, according to several geomancers, at Beckery Island, a small hill just outside the center of Glastonbury, Somerset, and tied down the Taurus Ouroboros line as it was intersected by the Michael/Solar Ouroboros passing through the town. This particular site was also known in ancient Welsh myth as one of Britain's 3 perpetual choirs, and in parentheses, the choir of Avalok or Avalon, and parentheses. These were continual geomantic resonators established on the landscape as reflections of a heavenly model related to 3 different aspects of consciousness translated to Earth. Activated long ago from a divine source, the choirs were originally far more active than at present and were related to healing. The vibrating stone from Beckery was subsequently removed, but remains conspicuously visible though totally anomalously elsewhere in Glastonbury. Thus, in geomantic terms, the Taurus stone was the primary receptor for the Taurian tone/vibration for the Ouroboros grid. It was the main reservoir, amplifier, disperser, and transducer/transmuter of this 1/12th differentiation of cosmic energy entering our biosphere. The 12 stones acting in concert formed the foundation of the global hermetic calendar. The central coordination point for this global stone calendar of zodiac energies is Avebury, the condensed planetary round table of the sun. The round table is a model for understanding the interdependent activities of the 12 stones of the one sound. The planetary round table is in effect the central receptor complex for the composite energies and consciousness of our solar system. For our particular star evolution paradigm of light/life, consciousness, whose king is our sun. Man, it's wild. Our solar system, ideally, is comprised of 12 revolving, rotating, interrelating bodies. In parentheses, this figure includes the sun and its reflector, the moon, and the energy shell of the supposedly destroyed planet called Maldek or Marduk, now present as an asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. End parentheses. This was the original ideal solar octave of 12 planetary notes. Just as our Gaia is a living sentient being, so is our solar system a larger unified consciousness entity, whose point of awareness is called by esotericists the solar logos. Each planet is directly related in terms of, quote, ruling, end quote, influence to one of the 12 zodiac houses, thereby producing a triangular pattern of influence of stars, planets, and Earth coordinates mediated to this planet through the Ouroboros grid and Avebury round table of the Sun. The planetary round table is the means by which Gaia can experience the differentiated energies of the solar logos, of which she is an integral part. The Ouroboros grid represents the 12 nights of Gaia's round table, the means by which these 12 oscillating influences are distributed to her body and eventually to the consciousness of her human, zodiacally attuned residence. So her human, zodiacally attuned residence. Gaia's grid body is the personality of the sun expressed 12-fold. As above, so below, said Hermes. We have then the Ouroboros grid interfacing the energy dynamics of the solar system and its organizing consciousness, the solar logos, for embodied humanity. By meditative mastery of the round table, we penetrate to the essence of our star evolution paradigm, of which we are biophysical miniatures, chemical holograms, and thus we stand on the threshold of transcendence, of attaining in consciousness that fourth dimensional quality called anti-gravity. There are, of course, inherent limitations to our grid conceptualizations through zodiacal archetypes. Much of this descriptive symbolism is man-made and homocentric, and thus not necessarily truly accurate with respect to the realities of the grid as the Elohim would describe them. From their vantage point, things are more cyclical and independent. It is not so much constellations and stories, or constellations and stones, but matter vibrating in synchronicity. Things are synchronously resonating in reciprocal maintenance with each other and thus feed the earth. The earth reciprocally maintains this relationship of interdependence. Each of the 12 stones resonates at a particular frequency that is in sympathetic harmony with certain astrological constellations. The most relevant point, however, is the relationship. The Earth is an active force as well as a receptive matrix. Each celestial, terrestrial, and lunar body is in sympathetic resonance, one with the other, traveling at tremendous speeds through infinite space. as we chart the Ouroboros grid, and particularly the polyhedronic crystal grid. It says it will be described next. We steadily approach the barrier between third and fourth dimensions, with all the inherent inadequacies and difficulties of Earth-based language and linear conceptualization. Thus, the Earth grid at this level, through the Avebury umbilicus, is the round table as a planetary hologram of the energy/consciousness body of the solar logos. It is the receiving/transmitting device expressed at the borderline between the third and fourth dimensions. In the context of the Earth, we have expressed the energy realities of the Sun's royal court, which itself is but a component of far larger vibrational body of the galactic logos. Now, the grid contains a practical, localized feature that makes the conscious human experience with the Sun's zodiacal court possible. The landscape zodiac is the local, accessible hologram of the Master Roundtable of Avebury and the solar logos, and represents an experiential workshop for aligning human with planetary, solar, galactic, and universal energy streams. We could liken the function of the landscape zodiac, i.e., in which the energy skeletons of constellations around the ecliptic are overlaid on a 30-mile circumferential band on the Earth, as in Somerset, England, with the Glastonbury zodiac, to that of a geomantic concert hall wherein we hear the music of the spheres as played by the local affiliate orchestra. There is some classical precedent for this musical interpretation of the grid. Pythagoras and Plato both presented grid models couched in musical terms. Pythagoras described a cosmic ship of music comprised of our planets and neighboring stars, which sailed through the heavens emitting rhiozomata, or, quote, rushing sounds, end quote, which we could hear when we tuned the seven-stringed lyre of ourselves, the unified chakra system, to resonate with the celestial music, accompanied or played by the grid. Plato spoke of the spindle of necessity, which he envisioned as the solar system rotating about the axis of the universe. On each whirl of this spindle sits a siren who sings a single note. In either case, the total resonance pattern, or total sound, the complete concert, is the celestial music of our King Sun, what Doris Lessing calls, quote, the controlling governor of them all, the majestic core of our web, the deep low organ note that underlies all being, God's singing center, end quote. You know what that reminds me of? The trumpets that were heard in the sky. Is it just this dome grid? It's the Ouroboros grid tuning up. That's all it is, right? Hey, Juan. Good to see you here tonight. So, I'm going to cut it here for today. We got to page 165 like we planned. There's still 30 pages left in this chapter, though. And it's just really dense with material, so I want to split this up to at least one more part before we move on to the next chapter. Because otherwise we'd be sitting here for like 5-6 hours reading just one chapter. And then we got a lot to go over still. But it's good. I'm looking forward to it. But next week we'll continue this chapter, and it's going to introduce another concept and term to everyone here. The polyhedronic crystal grid. We're talking grids on grids on grids now. We're learning how these grids operate with each other, or like interoperate. Unreal. And we're still trying to figure out how Ed Leedskalnin made Coral Castle. Well, I think he knew about this grid system. That's why this is being talked about so much in these books, and these books were recommended in the recommended reading. But Ed knew something about the location. He relocated everything to Homestead, like several miles south of where he originally started building the rock gate, which became Coral Castle. So it was like partially, like not even halfway built, and he relocated to Homestead. Is it because he found out that the grid was closer to that location in Homestead than it was in Florida City? I'm thinking most likely that's the reason why he moved it, because you have all these, like, look at all this. Okay, he has tables and chairs. He made walls. He has the Polaris stone, which is the big one with the star above it. This is the Florida table. Like, it's one thing for him to like carve this stuff out, but the thing that we're struggling with understanding here is how did he move all of these into the locations they're in? He tries to explain it in a touristy way that he used like pulleys and stuff, but some of these things are so damn heavy. There's no way one man could go and move all this on his own unless he had grid knowledge and knowledge of moving things with sound. So I wonder if the sound element comes into play with being on the grid line, because the whole reason he named Coral Castle Rock Gate at first is because he made a rock gate that was on a spindle that he made out of, I think, car parts. He drilled through the center of it. He found the weighted center of this rock, and you could push it open with a finger. And this thing was like extremely heavy. So look back at the first few parts if you haven't looked at that yet. It's also very rudimentary. I don't have much of a live stream set up back then last year as I do now, but it's all there. We covered the basics first with what Ed might have done, and then all of the different historical documents that were in it. Now we're going into the metaphysical aspect of all of this. We could explain away that these ridges on this photograph here, that they were done by him putting wood spikes into the ground and making the stones separate. That's all scientifically accounted for. But him moving these stones into place is not. And people never saw this guy work, apparently. They never saw him moving any of this around. It was always next day, new stuff is up. See, this is a pit here where he made the walls he just cut out from right next to it. So he didn't have to move it as far in this instance. But you see in the top right corner there, that was the Polaris stone. And then his living quarters, the 2-story mini castle there. There was equipment that was stolen after he died. That should tell you a lot about what's going on here with this site. We have relics that have been lost to time because he didn't have a plan of like people, he didn't have family, he didn't have children. He built this whole thing apparently because of a broken heart. But in a way, he created something that's very solidly backed up with his claims of it being a megalithic structure like the pyramids of Giza, like the heads at Easter Island, which we now know are all full bodies, like full body stones, and then a Stonehenge. Stonehenge also he compares his site to, and other researchers complement and compare it to those sites as well. So this is up there with those 3 locations, and it seems it's because it lies on one of these energy grids. And who knows, maybe at nighttime there was something else that was happening with a grid that he was taking advantage of. And you could factor in he needed to do this at different times of the year. But that's all little details. But this, I think, is enough to keep you guys occupied until next week. At some point, if I can get myself around to doing it, I'd like to do 2 shows a week of this, just so that we can get through the material faster. But I don't want to lose anybody and pass them up. Like, the 1 show a week, I think, is plenty for people to digest. And me keeping this under 2 hours, I think, is a good idea. So I'm trying my best to keep this in short bursts. Not that you guys can't handle. You've been here for 5-hour streams. You've been here for 10-hour streams. So I don't think that particularly matters. This photograph up here is from the gift shop. I don't know how accurate the whole alien thing is, but for the UFOs at least, we have some evidence that there's activity all around this place. There's a naval base or a military base that was built just like a several minute drive down from where Coral Castle is today. After Ed established his land that became Coral Castle, only after that was a military base in an airport. It's a military airport. It's set up right nearby Coral Castle. You have to wonder what was going on with that. He was also visited by, I don't know, I guess you want to say like alphabet agencies, asking him what he was up to. So maybe the government knows what Ed did to accomplish all this, but in the meantime, we're trying to see what sacred knowledge that he obtained from all of this. Because as we're living here today, we're also mirrored into the earth. Like, our energy is also, there's the yin and yang to it. But that'll be that for today. And thank you again. I appreciate y'all being here. Please make sure to drop a like. And if you have questions, leave them in the comments. I'll get to them. And especially if you want others to see your questions, putting it at the bottom of the video after this show's over would be the best option, because it'll stay there for longer. And every live upload, like live stream here, all of this stays up. I do re-uploads. I was doing them a week after the fact, but I'm pretty severely behind with getting the re-uploads done. But the re-uploads are there to get the rest of the channel aware of the videos being up here, because YouTube clearly doesn't show all of my subscribers my live streams, and it's just unfortunate. And I still don't know what's going on with that green photograph there. That's something with a corrupted file. I don't know what happened with that. But we have backups of all of this. Backups on backups. But yes, until the next time, thank you, Juan. Juan says thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I'm glad you get something out of this here. And yeah, we're all here to learn. Like, I'm not saying I know everything. Obviously, I don't. I don't even know how to pronounce some of these words in here. Some of these words are really, really rare. Like, you don't talk about this type of stuff in this language too often. But tomorrow, I'll be here, 6 p.m. Without a doubt, we'll be covering the Bermuda Triangle. We're going to finish going over all those lists, because I think we did, let me look at that real quick. No, actually, we finished that list. That was a long one. That got me a little winded. We're going to focus on the current Bermuda Triangle as of 9 years ago, because that's when the book was published. So the current Bermuda Triangle is what we'll cover tomorrow. But a lot of this stuff from this show is in relation to the Bermuda Triangle, because all of those grid lines, they're out there in the Bermuda Triangle, and Coral Castle is kind of like on one of those dome spirals. Let me see if I can bring that up. I just had it here. And I will say farewell for today. I want to say, just take any one of these spirals. That spiral is the Bermuda Triangle. Let's say one of these dome lines at the end here, those little nodes, one of those things might be Coral Castle. That's what I'm thinking we're dealing with here. And Ed was able to find that from just dowsing with the piece of branch. Alright. So I will end the show now. Thank you all for being here again. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. And we'll get into more of the Bermuda Triangle show. So, till the next one. Class dismissed. In Homestead.